All right, Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Welcome to the second volume of Yalkut Yosef, Hilchot Tzitzit. The first volume was Halachot Aleph until Zayin with 7 simanim in the Shulchan Aruch, 1 to 7. Now we're going to do the Halachot of Tzitzit followed by Tefillin. Tzitzit is the simanim 8 to 24. Even though it seems like it's much more simanim, but really we're going to do it a lot faster than we did the first Halachot. That was more like an introduction and we took it slowly. But now we're going to dive in and mainly to the halachot that are relevant to every day. So before we begin about the halachot of tzitzit, perhaps we should mention what is the value of tzitzit. So I'm going to give you a quote from the Rambam, Maimonides. This is what the Rambam says about the mitzvah of tzitzit. Le'olam yeheh adam zahir b'mitzvah tzitzit. A person should always be careful with mitzvah tzitzit. She'arei הכתוב שקלה ותלה בה כל המצוות כולם, because the Torah counted the mitzvah of tzitzit against all of the mitzvot of the Torah. How do we know it? It's a pasuk that we read in Shema. Uritem oto, you should see that tzitzit, uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, and through that you'll remember all of the mitzvot of Hashem. So the tzitzit that a person has on him, whether it's tzitzit katan, the talit that we wear in the tefillah, it's against all the mitzvot of Hashem. The Shulchan Aruch writes, the author of the Shulchan Aruch, Yalkut Yosef writes, "Azahir b'mitzvah tzitzit, whoever is careful with the mitzvah of tzitzit, zoche v'roeh penei shechina, he will have the zechut of seeing the Shekhinah, the divine presence." A big deal. There are a lot of segulot. Segulot are like mystery powers around the tzitzit as well. They say it's a protection. They say that it protects the children. Even though I'm wearing it, it protects my children. They say that if someone doesn't have children, it's a big segula to have children. And even if someone is not wearing a kippah, they say you still should wear the tzitzit, because the kippah, as we learned before, it's not even a mitzvah from the Torah. It's something that developed through time. It's more of a minhag. However, tzitzit is a mitzvah from the Torah. But we're going to see, it's not for every shirt, really, as opposed to, let's say, tefillin. Tefillin, I have to put on tefillin every morning. Tzitzit, it's not that I have to put it on. It's only if I have a clothing item that has alba kenafot, 4 corners, like the talit that we wear in shacharit, then I'm obligated to put on a tzitzit, and then that's what we do in shacharit. We take that big talit and we say a blessing on it. But there's another tzitzit, there's a tzitzit katan that we put on our body, and it's the same idea. If it has 4 corners, now am I obligated to wear it? No. However, by wearing it every second that it's on me, I'm fulfilling a mitzvah from the Torah. There are not so many mitzvot that we are basically wrapping ourselves with a mitzvah. Usually it's, tefillin, it's for your hand. Lulav, you're holding it like this. How many? Can anybody give me an example of a mitzvah that wraps us completely? Sukkot. Being in the sukkah is a mitzvah from the Torah, and that's probably the only mitzvah that completely wraps you into the mitzvah. The mikveh maybe is the same idea, but that's more for the women. For the men, we don't have the mitzvah of the mikveh. Tzitzit is probably as close as can be to that, where you're wrapped, and you're wrapped 24 hours a day if you're wearing a tzitzit katan. If not, then during shachrit, you wear the talit gadol, you are wrapped fully in the mitzvah. So it's a big deal. So let's begin. Siman Chet ad Kafdaled. What is the clothing item that is obligated to wear a tzitzit? So we have a distinction between the obligation from the Torah and the obligation from Chachamim. From the Torah, a clothing item that is made out of wool or linen and has 4 corners. Today, usually we don't use linen, right? We'll see later why. But usually we use wool. So a clothing item that is completely from wool or from the linen, he is the one that is obligated to put on tzitziot if it has alba knafot. I'm mentioning this because if you have a shirt that doesn't have alba knafot and you put tzitzit on it, you didn't do anything. The item has to have 4 corners. That's the kenafot. We'll talk about this. So that's according to the Rambam. That's according to the Rif, right? 2 out of 3 amudei hora'ah, the pillars of halacha that Rabbi Yosef Karo always follow. He has 3 pillars of halacha. We have the Rosh, the Rif, and the Rambam. 2 of them say that is the clothing item that is obligated to get tzitzit from the Torah. However, according to the Rama is the posek for the Ashkenazim. He says that all of the clothing are from the Torah, which means even if I take a cotton shirt, and you see a lot of children, you don't want to put wool on them every day in school, it's very hot. They take a cotton tzitzit, they put it on them, and it's comfortable. It's like a shirt, it has sleeves. I used to have those when I was younger as well. So according to the Rama, you're fulfilling the mitzvah from the Torah by putting on that tzitzit. However, this is a famous machloket. According to the Sephardim, according to the Shulchan Aruch, no. From the Torah, if you want to fulfill the mitzvah from the Torah, it needs to be from wool or linen. Linen, we don't do today. The only clothing item that everybody will agree does not have to put on tzitzit is a material called, anybody want to guess? What material does not require tzitzit if it has four corners? Leather. You wear a leather scarf, a leather big item. Well, scarves, we'll see, scarves generally don't need to put on tzitzit, even though they have four corners. Even if they're big enough to be like a talit, we still won't. Why? Because it has to be something that is used for your body, malbush, a way of wearing. Now, a scarf goes on the neck. It's not meant for you to cover your body, and therefore that won't be obligated with tzitzit. But we're talking about clothing that do cover your body. Wool is the one that is exempt. So again, I want to recap this for a second. We have not wool, leather. Leather, everybody agrees, doesn't require tzitzit. Clothing items that are made from linen or wool, everybody agrees that from the Torah, if they have four corners, they require tzitzit. All the other materials, according to the Sephardim, they're still obligated to put on tzitzit, but only from Chachamim. According to the Ashkenazim, even if it's not made from wool, it's still an obligation from the Torah to put the tzitziot on it. All right, so you know, it's best to probably show you a live demonstration of what it looks like. We're going to go into little details about the tzitzit. It's good to know. You know, we do this every day. Let's learn what everything is called and how we do it, how we put it exactly. Okay. Introducing my talits. We're going to see right now. These are the strings, right? We call it ptil. There used to be a ptil techelet. Back in the day, there was a blue string that everybody knew what the material was. You see people wearing it today, but to be honest, no one is sure that that is the original material that they had back in the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, they had big nets, and they would go and they would hunt with these nets, these snails that have some sort of blue material that they release from them. Now, are these the original, whatever they're finding today, is it made from those snails? They would use that to color the stuff in the Mishkan. So we don't know, and therefore, according to most Chachamim, you don't really need to put it because it's most likely not what we have originally. When Mashiach will come, he maybe will let us know what that is. But anyway, this is the ptiliot that we have today. They're what? So there's a pasuk that talks about gedilim. I know this may be not as familiar. And there's a pasuk that talks about petilim. That we all know. Petil techelet v'aya lechem netzitzit. So what is a gedil and what is a ptil? So a gedil, okay, first of all, we have the corner over here, right? There's a hole, you make the knot, and then you start. Whatever is wrapping around the strings, which means this over here, this is called a gedil. A gedil is a strings that have something wrapping them together. And a ptil is just the strings at the end. So really, we have a gedil and a ptil in every talit. This is the gedil, this is the ptil. Now we're going to see that there are certain proportions that are best, right? What is that? So, first of all, before I talk about this, I want to go according to the order. When we have a tzitzit katan, what people wear on there, and maybe next time we'll bring one of those to show, but what is the challenge with tzitzit katan? Because when people put tzitzit katan on, usually they don't say a bracha. They come to kanisa and they say a bracha on the big talit. Why don't they say a bracha? Theoretically, you could say a bracha on the tzitzit katan, but in order for you to say it, it has to have a very big size, and most tzitzit katan do not have that size. The size would be, beside the hole in the center, from here to here, plus from here to here, it has to be 1 amma, which means 24 centimeters, about 10 inches on each side to be going from the hole. And from the hole here and in the back, double, 20 inches to the bottom from here and 20. It's such a big item that nobody wears a tzitzit katan, almost nobody that is that big. And therefore, it's still kosher, it's still from the Torah, but in order to make the baracha, we need that size. That's why we save the baracha for this. But if you're going to tell me, listen, I want to wear a tzitzit according to all the opinions, katan like that. There are people like that. I think my brother-in-law once made a tzitzit like that. It's a very big, massive tzitzit. He wears it under a shirt. No one notices. He's happy. He could theoretically say a bracha on that. And if he would, he still would say a beracha on the talit gadol when he comes to shul, so he could gain an extra bracha. But most people don't have that. Most tzitzit katan are not in the size that is relevant, and therefore we wait for Kenisa and we say a beracha on this one. So according to the halacha, there's a right proportion for these, right? I know most of us don't make the strings, but we're learning Hilchot Tzitzit. It's good to know there are not so many Hilchot of Tzitzit that are relevant to us. A lot of them have to do with the way they're manufactured and the kavanot, but we'll touch whatever I feel like is still relevant for us, because I happen to tie my own strings, and it seemed difficult. After you learn it, maybe one day you'll do it. Anyway, the Gedilim part has to be 1/3, and this part should be double of that, which means ideally this is 8 centimeters, let's say 3-4 inches, and this is double that. This is between 6 to 8 inches. Those are the most right proportions that you should have. Now you're going to say, okay, mine are not exactly like that. And okay, if it's not exactly, of course it's kosher. There's an ideal measurement, right? That's what everybody says. According to the Mishnah Berura, the Ashkenazim, some hold that it has to be like that, and if it's not like that, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah. Halacha for the Sfaradim is not like that. So even if it's going to be shorter, and this is going to be a little bit longer, when it's longer, it's never a problem. Either you shorten it, or even if it stays longer, it's not, right? But I'm just saying, what is the ideal? Now, what happens, and this is a very common case. The tzitzit tore, 1 string tore off, 2 strings tore off, it only tore off half, maybe more, maybe less, I have a little bit left. What makes the tzitzit kasher, and what makes the tzitzit pasul? What makes the tzitzit kasher, and what makes it pasul? So, ideally, when someone is making the tzitzit, what does he have to do? It's actually 4 very long strings and 1 even longer, and he's the one that does the wraps, and then you separate, you make a knot, he wraps again, you separate, you make a knot, and that's how it works. You know what, maybe I could even show you a little bit over here. Imagine that this would be the long one, okay? So the long one would go around like this, 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. Once you made a few rounds, according to the numbers we'll see, then you separate them 4 and 4, you make a knot, you make another knot, and then you continue. You take the long one and you wrap it again. That's basically how it's done, all right? So each one of these is the double knots, and these are the wraps. Some opinions say that you should have 7, 8, 11, and 13. Some say, why? Because the numerical value of that is Hashem Echad, God is one. That's 39 rounds. So Shulchan Aruch says, do it like that because you get to 39 rounds. Others say, no, let's have Yud K Vav K. So I have 10 here, then 6. Yud is 10, Vav is 6, Hey is 5, and then another 6. So there are different opinions. They're all kosher. And even if you have at home a tzitzit that was tied in according to the Ashkenazi way, it's 100% kosher. These are just minhagim. Whatever you do is fine. Really, really from the Torah, the requirement is just to have a gedil that has 3 wraps around it, and then the ptiliot falling out, and you're safe. Only today, from Chachamim, what developed later on is all these customs of how to do and what to do, right? So we need to know what's the requirement. Why am I saying this? So now let's get to the interesting part. One of my ptiliot ripped off. What's the halacha? So since these are really not 8, there are actually only 4 strings over here that are split into 2. It was long one, and we made knots. So as long as one is still long and pouring out, I'm good. So if I always kept 4 on each side that are the same, and I know 100% that this guy's partner is on this side, all right? So let's make it easy. If one ripped off, we're good. No problem at all, because he definitely has a partner. We have 8. So really the other side of these 4 is somewhere safe, and therefore we're good. One is already long enough. I hope I'm clear. If I'm not, stop me to ask. The only problem begins if 2 fell off from this side. If 2 fell off from this side, if I was very careful that I always kept them 4 on this side and 4 on that side, but the same ones, then even if 2 or 3 or 4 tore on one side, on the other side I still have all 4, and all 4 have something lingering, so it would be sufficient. But most times, what happens is you take the strings, you wrap around, then you make a double knot, and now you have 8. So you separate them 4 to 4, you do it again, and then you have 8 again, and you separate them. What happens on the way? You don't have the order. So really, it could be that instead of 4 being on one side and 4 on the other side, even though it looks like that, but this guy's continuation is actually this guy next to him and not on the other side of the 4. Steve, you understand what I'm saying? Is that possibility clear to you or no? Or should I explain it again?
I think I have to bring my own tzitzit and test it to understand better. I'll be
Yes,
honest with you. Okay.
I can imagine. But the 4 and 4 we understand. We have 4 here and 4 here. As I said before, they're not really 8 strings here. It's 4 very long ones that were split into 2. We didn't cut them. We just made a knot and started tying around. Now, ideally, there are 4 here, and the continuation of these 4 are on this side. But a lot of the times they get mixed up, and therefore, really, the continuation of this guy is not here. It's actually on the same side because you made so many strings and knots on the way and the order got mixed up. Why am I saying that? Because as long as you have 4 that are long, that are different, then you're covered. Even if all the other 4 fall off, still, I have 4 and I have the ptil. It's hanging out, it's lingering. But if I made a mistake and instead of the partners of these, the continuation of these being on that side, they're actually on this side. Let's say this guy's continuation is actually the string next to him. Now, if that's a possibility and 2 fell from the same side, then I can't have this tzitzit be kosher. Because maybe I don't have 1 string that is lingering because 2 fell from the same side, but really they're 1. So there's only 3 petilot here. The 4th one that is supposed to be split into 2 completely doesn't have anything hanging off. So you always have to have 4 that have something hanging off from them. So let me ask you a question. I don't know if I made the order right or wrong. And now 2 tore. 1 from this side and 1 from this side. So I really have 3 from here and 3 from here. Would this be kosher or would it not be kosher? So the answer is, I'm scared. I'm scared that the guy that fell off from this side is the partner of the guy that fell off from this side. So 1 string is missing. 3 have complete length, but 1 is completely missing, and therefore that would be a problem, right? Now, there is a lenient opinion. We don't follow this opinion, but there's an opinion by someone called the Ri. The Ri says that it would be actually enough to have a length that is enough to make a knot that's about less than 2 inches, maybe 4 centimeters. But since all of this is not a necessity, really halachically, we just needed, as we said before, right, the 3 wraps and a knot, that would have been a kosher gedil. So all the remaining knots that we do like 8 knots altogether. So many of these knots, you didn't really need them. You just made them from Chachamim, according to this opinion, to make all the customs right. But really, even if they all tore, he would say, yeah, but if I open this up right here and only keep what is required from the Torah, I will have the right length. I will have gdilim that are over 4 centimeters. Once it's over 4 centimeters, that would be fine if it's enough to make a knot on. So according to his opinion, even if there are no strings here, this is kosher. Why? Because I could open up whatever I added that is not a requirement, and that will be strings. Now, is halacha like that? No, halacha is not like that. But why am I telling you this? Because sometimes you go to Kanisa and you see someone, they doesn't have a talit, they give him a talit. Now he looks at the talit, he says half of the strings are torn. Should I wear it? Should I not wear it? Should I say a bracha? Should I not say a bracha? So we learn that since we fear that the opinion is not like the Ri, we shouldn't say a beracha. This may not be kosher. But because there is an opinion like his that exists, so what we would do is we can put it on. We can put on this talit and rely on his opinion, but we will not say a beracha. So how do you not say a beracha? You're putting on something, you're not going to say a beracha? So this is the answer. The halacha of talit is tzitzit, v'aya lachem letzitzit, and the tzitzit should be for you. Chachamim learned, if it's for me, so if I borrow a tzitzit from someone else, I don't say a bracha. This is halacha. You borrow talit from your friend, can I use your talit? You don't say a bracha, unless he has in mind to give it to you as a gift. A gift that will be returned to him. But if you want to give your friend a talit because he doesn't have, you should tell him, I'm giving it to you as a gift. Now you could say a bracha. If you're not giving to him as a gift, he's not allowed. It's a bracha levatala. It's only your... Now what happens in Kanisa, all the talitot in Kanisa? So the talitot that are waiting in Bet HaKnesset, they are meant for the use of everybody. So they are considered a gift. Whoever puts it on, it's as if it's his. So when I come to shul on Shabbat and I see a talit waiting there in the drawers, I could take one out. I can say a bracha on it. But now they're giving me this talit, and it's not kosher. So what do? You're allowed to have in mind that I have kavanah, that this does not belong to me. This does not belong to me. And then you don't say a beracha, so you could still put it on because of the opinion of the Reed, that even though it doesn't have all the strings, even if they're all cut over here, this is enough, according to the Reed, and therefore I do put it on. But I'm not going to say a bracha because I'm scared that maybe opinion is not like him. So that would be the way to cover all around. Now I want to show you how do we say the beracha. I know you all do this. So first of all, we stand up. Stand up. I'm going to do it sitting so the camera can catch me. But we have our talit. Now there's something called atifa Yishmaelit. The way the Ishmaelim, the way the Arabs in the desert cover themselves, that's how the halacha is. That's how we need to put on the talit. So if you say a bracha, asher kirishanu mitzvah b'tzitzit, and then you do this, you're wrong. That would be wrong. The right way to do it is to hold it all together. So you pull it up like that. Right, I got it. Now I'm ready for the beracha. Some hold it all in one hand because they say you should do mitzvot with your right hand. Yalkut Yosef brings that opinion, but he also says you don't have to. A lot of people hold it with two hands, and that's sufficient. Now you say the beracha. I recommend, and the Chachamim recommend as well, to read the L'Shem Yichud, or V'yinu Am Adonai Eloheinu, like you always say, Steve. Read it before you do every mitzvah. When you do the mitzvah of Tzitzit, have in mind, you read the L'Shem Yichud, basically you have to have in mind that you're remembering all the mitzvot of Hashem. Like we said before, U'item oto, when you see it, Uzchartem et kol, remember all the mitzvot of Hashem. So we take it, we say the L'Shem Yichud. I recommend strongly, it's not an obligation, but it's recommended. And then Baruch Atah, don't answer Amen, Asher Kiddushanu Tatev B'Tzitzit. And now, what do? I take a part. I'm not supposed to cover my eyes. When the Ishmaelim do it, they don't cover their eyes. I cover my head without my eyes. Now I take the right side, maybe it looks opposite from you. I flip it to here. I wait a few seconds. I do this, and I wait a few seconds once again. And that's the proper way that halacha requires us to put on the thing. Okay, then you could lower it down. We're going to see there are questions regarding if I hear a beracha, I hear a kaddish while I'm doing the tzitzit. Do I answer? Do I not answer? Depending on the stages. There are a few stages here. Stage number 1 was to put it on my head and wrap around. Stage number 2, I'm not done yet. I have to still lower it on my body. Because if you would just leave it on your neck like that, you're not supposed to say a bracha on it. Just like a scarf. It's not a clothing item that's meant for the body. It's meant for the neck. The way to do it is only after you lower it on the rest of your body. That would be a complete mitzvah. So we're going to see if I hear a bracha, is it a second I answer amen, I'm in the middle, it's like someone about to eat an apple. Before he takes the bite, someone says kaddish. Does he answer? Does he not? So we're going to touch those halachot b'ezrat Hashem. I don't want to take your time, so I'm going to fold this later. Maybe we'll still need it. All right, so let's go back into the halachot. All right.
Ziv, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So when I go on vacation, let's say my son doesn't bring his talit back. He uses my tefillin and my tzitzit. So I have to think that I'm gifting it to him. So then he says the prayer. That's what I have to do? Is that what you're saying?
So I think that for your son, everything that belongs to you belongs to him. Meaning when you give to him, it's like you gave to yourself because he belongs to you halachically until he's at a certain age. I don't know how old he is. But yeah, I would get accustomed. It's not you as much as him, meaning, let's take it step by step. Tefillin, we don't have that halacha. Tefillin, you don't need to if you loan it from someone, you still say bracha, no problem. But when it comes to talit, when he puts it on, it has to be a gift that has been given to him. So have in mind, maybe you could make a stipulation like this for all year long. Say, I always have in mind that my children and my talit, I'm gifting it to them so that I get it back. But you're pointing out something good. It could be a son, it could be your son's friend that came over.
Sure.
Have that in mind. In order to say beracha, it has to belong to you. With your own child, since he's under your roof, maybe it's considered like, whatever he gains. I don't know if today we do it, but if a young child works and brings home money, according to the Torah, it should be the father's because he's living in his roof. That's the father's, right? So he is you. But if we put that aside, dry, yes, what you're saying is true. A guy wants to put on your tefillin, you have to You have to have in mind that you're giving it him as a gift so that he could say the beracha. All right. Now, at the time, now this comes to the people that make the tzitzit, but at the time that they're making these knots, they have to have a kavanah. What is the kavanah in their mind? L'shem mitzvah tzitzit. I'm making these knots right now to fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzit, to create a tzitzit. You can't just do it and watch a basketball game. There's a problem. You have to have that kavanah. But what happens, and this is a beautiful question that the answer will be, oh wow, 8:30. 1:35. I didn't notice how the time went by. We'll leave this beautiful question of Rav Ovadia for next time. Well, time flies when you're having fun. So I'm excited. We started a new topic with Sat Hashem. Next week we'll continue. See you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.